Yeah, I mean, projects like Monero, Zcash, Dash, they work pretty much on one aspect of the problem, which is privacy of monetary transactions. So this is definitely not enough to build private, kind of data private applications. And we more like see ourselves as a platform to enable data privacy in applications you are building. So, of course, it could include privacy of transactions, but that's kind of not enough. So maybe you can pay for services using private transactions so that you don't reveal who you are, but privacy of the data is a different aspect.
I agree with Michael. I think that Monero and Zcash and for example, they are taking a very good step towards the privacy. Although they only did a confidential transaction, but I think this is a very good step. It makes people be aware of that the activity that they are doing on blockchain needs to be private. And but as Michael said, I think doing confidential transaction is only the first step, and having a whole privacy-preserving application platform is more important. So that's what we are doing, and I think we share the same goal. But I think they took their first step, and we will follow on.
Okay, cool. So my second question will go more towards, I mean, there are different approaches in the industry of how you can tackle the privacy issues. So one of the biggest ones is using trusted hardwares like Intel SGX. There has been recently a lot of projects working on that. Just having all of the nodes running on Intel SGX or something like that. I'm just wondering because since Nucypher and Origo are mainly using cryptography methods, I mean, contrast to just trusting Intel SGX. Can you just share briefly about your views on Intel SGX and how that's very different from these cryptography methods we're using? What are the benefits? What are the advantages of each method? And how can you see this movement going in the future?
Yeah, I guess Intel SGX is a very good technology to prevent hackers from seeing the private data, but it doesn't really preserve data from being revealed by the owner of the hardware. I mean, yes, it does to a certain degree, but it was shown that there are some attacks, including like measurements of magnetic fields of the CPU, which reveal their secret key sitting inside the enclave, and just to be able to decrypt all of the data which this enclave processes. And that's like not as fancy of an equipment as you can imagine. Well, of course, this requires physical access to the CPU, but actually the ways to measure magnetic fields are very advanced nowadays. So you can use, I don't know, AC atomic magnetometer, something very close to what I worked on when I was doing a PhD in physics. And you can actually measure these magnetic fields from 10 feet away, even if you have a magnetic shield. So it's actually pretty scary stuff. So this secure hardware is actually good, but only good to some degree. You don't if you don't trust the environment this secure hardware is in, either the owner of the hardware or you can think that the hacker can be near that hardware, you probably cannot be sure that the data will stay private. Maybe it can be, you can be sure to a certain degree. Maybe you can say most of this secure hardware will not get hacked, so then you can kind of use probabilistic approach. Let's say if one or two of the secure hardware devices are revealed the secret key, that's still fine. If you can arrange things in this way, I think it's good enough. But yes, you kind of should use that carefully. Well, on the other hand, there is probably not no good way to do execution over private data performantly. Even with multi-party computations or fully homomorphic encryptions, you are probably at the level of like computers from 60s at best. And if you do computations in Intel SGX, you run at the full speed. So if you want to like outsource computations to a remote third party or something like that, Intel SGX is probably, or like the similar AMD technology, is probably your best bet.
Yeah, I think I agree that SGX definitely has some advantage. Yeah, the execution speed is one of it because most of the crypto techniques, there is some computation overhead. And I think SGX, at least it provides some protection. But I think maybe one thing people should be aware of is it's not some silver bullet that can solve every problem. So I think we can, in some certain scenario, we can put some limited trust on SGX, but it should not be never fully trusted. Yeah, because in that sense, you are just transfer your problem to fully rely on SGX. So you didn't solve this problem, your chance saying, oh, I hope SGX could solve the problem. So that's why, for example, at Origo, the execution result we still verify by using zero knowledge proof. We can't just, for example, say let's run it on XGX and trust what SGX returns. Yeah, I think it's a good technology, but it should be used with cautious, not put too much trust on it. Yeah.
Okay, I'll just go back to Michael's point. So you were saying that Intel SGX is easy to hack, or is hackable in some extent.
Not necessarily easy to hack. If you're a remote attacker, it's very hard to hack, maybe impossible. But if you have physical access to that, then with some hardware you can do it.
So what about, I mean, the proxy re-encryption things, how hard that is to hack both from a local level and a remote level?
Yeah, well, if you possess only the re-encryption key, and then you cannot really decompose it into its like what it was derived from. It's probably as hard of a problem as to hack elliptic curve cryptography, which Ethereum is based on. But there are some attacks possible. Most of them are collusion attacks. So if, let's say, the recipient of the data colludes with the majority of the proxies who hold re-encryption keys related to his policy, he can, let's say, grant access for himself forever. So that's kind of, well, for this portion of data he was granted access to. So this is one of the kind of, probably the most like the biggest vulnerability here. So the most what is important to do is to make sure that collusion cannot happen. One of the powerful things which we want to utilize is to actually anonymize the network so that proxies cannot find each other and the recipient cannot find the proxies in order to collude. It's actually a challenging problem, so we will not solve it in the first version, but I hope we will. So that's kind of anonymization is something which adds a lot to the security of the system.
Cool. So this comes to my last question, since we're running out of time. So what kind of chemistry do you see between the two projects, Nucypher and Origo? What sort of the aspects, both of you think that it'd be worthwhile for both parties to pursue in the future in terms of technical collaborations?
Yeah, I guess one of the things comes with conditional proxy re-encryption, and as I mentioned during the talk, to grant access you actually need to know the public key of the recipient. So what if you don't know the public key of the recipient? what if you, well, at least at the time of granting, maybe you want to grant access to whoever pays for the data, right? And in this case, maybe something is possible to come up with this, privacy preserving smart contract. Basically, what you want to do is you want, without exposing the private key, to compute a re-encryption key for the recipient as soon as the payment is paid when the recipient provides a public key. Right now, it's the owner of the data who is doing that, even before the recipient pays. So he trusts the proxies to check whether the payment has happened. But kind of the biggest challenge is that, like, what if you don't know who your recipients are? Maybe you want to put up some piece of content for sale without knowing who will buy it and forget about it, and then just collect money. So without even costing anything. So in order to do that. Probably something could be done with Origo.
Yeah, and I think another thing maybe Nucypher could be useful for Origo is that, as we mentioned in our protocol, for example, the secret information needs to be shared with the executors, and sometimes, for example, we might have a group of executors. For example, in case the first executor fails, there could be a substitute. And for example, how to share information with them, and maybe Nucypher's technology could be helpful for that.
Yeah, I guess that's pretty possible. How many executors do you expect in your network?
We will have. Yeah, this is a good question, and we haven't think too much. But I think for a particular contract, it doesn't need to be a lot. For example, it could be a large group of executors for a candidate, but for a particular execution, maybe we can have instead of relying on only one executor, we can also have some backups. Say let's have 5 or 10 backups.
Yeah. Do you think web of trust kind of pattern would be feasible for executors?
Yeah. I think because sometimes the choice of executor is also participants can have their own choice or preference for executor.
Yeah, so when the participant is choosing executors, basically the participant can grant access to that executor, conditioned on whatever.
Yeah. For example, conditional executor pays the deposits.
Right.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So we're done for the panel discussion. We have some more time for questions. If anyone has some, otherwise we'll just call it a day.
Looks like you're not touching any politically sensitive questions about data anonymity and stuff like that.
You want to talk about that? Yeah, sure, go ahead.
I don't know whether it's interesting for the audience. Okay. But yeah, I just wanted to express my opinion about that. Well, back in the day when public key encryption was invented, the United States wanted to control the encryption so that other countries cannot get access to that or cannot get access to strong encryption and so on. Even right now, some countries like Russia want to prevent encryption from getting into people's hands. But I think universally it starts being accepted that data privacy is a universal human right. And I guess even the United Nations kind of more or less recently accepted that. Anyway, so I think the reason why it happened is because encryption is impossible to break, at least in the current technological level, and this means that if you want to regulate against encryption and prohibit that, you will fail, because technically everyone can execute code, everyone can encrypt, and you cannot really technically prevent that. So that's why it's kind of starts being accepted as a universal human right, because you can't forbid it. The same with cryptocurrencies. You cannot forbid Bitcoin because, like, you can block it. You can, of course, you can start blocking information about Bitcoin. You can start spreading some bad news about it. But really it doesn't stop it. So it will be universally accepted. Well, it's my guess that everyone will be able to send money to everyone, and the same probably could apply to anonymity of monetary transactions. And that's actually a big. That's actually a very big thing, because if that happens, then governments will lose a lot of control, and basically they will have to collaborate with people so that they voluntarily want to send money only to those places who governments want. So basically, people will have a way to vote with their action, with their money, like what this money are spent on, who receives those money, and so on. That's a big shift. It's like a shift from prohibitions to appealing to people's will. But it has to happen because technology it's not possible to stop this technology. So I think that in future we will see like basically the freedom of like sending money and anonymity of that also to be a universal human right.
Well, yeah, I'll just basically get touch on that as well. I mean, universally, privacy is a basic human right, it's a fundamental thing. But also, as you mentioned, I mean, it doesn't mean that you have to always fight against regulators, because sometimes there are privacy for good and also privacy for bad things. People use privacy for whatever purpose that's against the public, or that's not good, that's not fair to other people. That's sort of the sort of aspect that we wanted to focus on as well in the future. I mean, not just Origo, but also Nucypher, right? We want to make sure that how can you make sure that people are not using this kind of technology to do very bad things against other people. I think that's also a challenging one. It's not only a question about how you design your platform technology-wise, but also how you can regulate or how you can govern your own community in terms of how you can lead people to use the technology in the right way and against the other one.
Yeah, I would say that well, the problem with this is that I've heard some stories how access to emails is used to prosecute people, and people who are totally innocent, if they get subpoenaed so that prosecutors get access to their emails, they just assemble their proofs that those people are guilty, just picking pieces up from their emails without those people actually being guilty. Because if you have enough data, you can actually pick up things from different parts of this data to make it looking like anything. So basically, my opinion is that one should not use people's private data to prove anything, that's kind of all for strong encryption.
Yeah, do you have some opinion? Because I think one of the audience also have a concern that if you provide very strong privacy, governments might argue that it also creates opportunities for criminals and so on. So Do you have any opinion on how should we address this? Yeah, as Barry mentioned, this is a very challenging problem, but I think sometimes when you develop a technology, you should also have some responsibility related with it.
Balance, like such extreme actions. Could there be could there be ways by which you can balance it out, but outside of technology? So, for example, strengthen education, awareness, create more incentives for people to not act in some way.
Yeah, that's probably, I guess, creating incentives is probably the best way indeed.
Yeah, I would say, just do